All right, so I think now we're ready to make our level 3. So let's make sure we save our test scene before we switch over. Again, as always, we want to make sure that we are including our 2 new mechanics here. So we need to have at least 1 physics crate, and we need to have our player prefab needs to make sure it has that object grabber, and we also need to make sure we have one of our physics buttons in there as well. So we've got our prefabs here. We make sure we drop those into scene 3. So we will move now into our scenes folder and select level 3. Once again, make sure we go to structures, pick a room. I'm actually going to pick the 12 by 12 room here, a nice big one. There we go. That gives us lots of room to work with here. And then we want to start by grabbing our gameplay prefabs. So I'm actually going to use almost all of these, but the ones that we all will need to make sure we have are our player prefab, our game manager prefab, our canvas prefab, and our end level button. And then we'll go ahead and set up that interactable for the end level button. We'll say game manager in here, game manager, load scene, and then we'll be loading level 4. One word. We'll be loading level 4 with that button there. And then we want to make sure we add a physics crate, make sure it's not stuck on the floor, and then a physics button as well. Now, once again, as usual, this is kind of your chance to turn it loose. I'm going to make a level myself and fast forward it in the video here, but yeah, feel free to follow along with me or to do your own thing. Remember to get creative with those buttons too. We do have the button door now, so we can use that to lock our physics button away, and we can get pretty creative using that in conjunction with these corridors that we haven't really seen a whole ton yet. But like for example, you could put something like this. In the corner or something, and then have it blocked off by the door. Or you could use our wall prefabs as well. In the walls, oops, accidentally just moved my floor folder in there. But yeah, in the walls thing, you could, oops, delete that. We could, not the door wall, the wall plane. We could make a little room by rotating this guy 90 degrees. And we now have this kind of little corner. We could shove this in the corner here and then hide our button back there or something. Get creative and try to make use of stuff like this, like our button door and our moving platforms. I'm going to go ahead and make my level now. So yeah, feel free to check it out. So one of the gizmo tools that I don't talk about very often, but it's actually really useful in a situation like this, where I have I have a hurt floor here, and then I have another hurt floor that I duplicated, and I want to scale this, but I don't want to, it's a little bit tricky. If I do the X scaling, it's going to go into that wall. If I try to do the Z scaling, it's going to go into the wall. If I do the X scaling, it's going to do the same thing. So one of the tools I can actually use is what's called the rect transform tool, and if I hit T, or I think that's what it's called, so yeah, rect tool, that will actually bring up this white box that surrounds the outer edge of our object here. And what that does is it allows me to actually, in the scene view, I can select the edge of that white box, if I can get a good angle on it. There we go. And then from that box, I can actually just click and drag and like resize the size of this box without having to mess with that scale tool. So it's kind of similar to like how you'd resize like a picture or something in like a Word document, that kind of thing. So that's really useful for when you want to scale something on a specific size without having to worry about how that would interfere with the positioning in the world. You can also grab these little corner nodes to scale two sides at once, which is pretty nice. So that's a very useful tool for laying out levels like this. One thing that you guys might run into, and since I didn't do super advanced levels the first couple times, I didn't have this problem, but you guys might have noticed this already. Sometimes when you start adding a lot of walls and different rooms and stuff, you get tons and tons of clutter inside our hierarchy here. So what we can actually do is find that room, that base room thing, that 8x8 base room, and we can move that up to the top and then just grab all of this stuff that we can that really isn't like our player, and we can make it all a child of that. So like all these wall planes and that type of thing, we can grab a bunch of them and just drag them into base room just to clear up some room in our hierarchy, like all these catwalks and stuff. We don't want to put things like our player or like waypoints or things that are going to be like moving or interacted with as a child of the base room, but things like walls and catwalks we can move and make a child of base room. That'll just help, and then we can just close that arrow in the hierarchy, and that'll just help us keep our hierarchy here a little more organized. Oops. So yeah, that's useful if you start to see that you're getting way too many things listed here. Okay, I think I am finished with my level here. Let's go ahead and test it out together. So I will hit play. Spawn down here. So I need to grab my box and carry it to the end of these platforms, which is, funnily enough, kind of the hardest part of this level, but that's all right. I'm going to drop it onto that, which enables this mover to go up. Once I'm up here, I need to jump out onto this platform and grapple over here. There we go. And then I need to wait for my platform to move down so I can time a jump onto that. Go. And now I've got this final platforming segment where I'm going to be jumping between these moving platforms. One thing that you'll need to be careful about, and you can kind of see it happening here, is that the platform mover will try to move the box twice. Once if you have it grabbed, and then another if it enters that trigger at the bottom of the platform. So try to avoid looking down into the platform or a moving platform while you're holding the box, or it'll cause the box to move over to the side like it did there. But it does look like I beat the level. The door opened and I'm able to move on to level 4. So yeah, hopefully your levels are just as cool as mine. If not cooler, I'm sure they are. But once you get it to a point where you're satisfied, remember to save your scene, and then you're welcome to move on to the bonus or head over to week 4.